Lesson 4 is on writing products as sums and sums as products. And again, a lot of what we're going to do in this lesson and the last lesson is we really want to start looking at how we can manipulate expressions, how we can write equivalent expressions. And we want to get really good at seeing the relationship between numbers and operations, because sometimes if we write something in a different form, as you're going to find later on, it's going to make the problem easier. And so right now, our goal is just to see the different ways we can write equivalent expressions and get more comfortable with that. Confusing now, it gets easier later on, I promise. So remember, again, when we talk about writing products, we're going to be working with multiplication, sums, a solution to addition problem. Okay. Now these first problems here should seem very familiar because we've done them over and over in our warm-ups. It says rewrite the expression as a product of two factors. Okay, so we're going to multiply two things together to get this. And as you've heard me say a ton of times, the way we find out what we're multiplying by is to divide. If you want to know what you're multiplying by, you divide. So we have two terms here. We have 72t and 8. We know it's a term because there's a plus sign right there. So we need to look at what we can divide 72 and 8 by, because what we're going to multiply by becomes one of our factors, or what we're going to divide by becomes one of our factors. So you might look at these and think 2. 2 goes into both of them. So remember, we can pull out that 2. And when I divide 72 by 2, I believe, hopefully I'm right, that's 36. So 72t divided by 2 is 36t. There's a plus sign there. We put a plus sign here. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Not the only thing we could do, though, because remember, we could look at this and 4 might go into it, I don't know. But if I look at these, I think 8, right? I can divide them by 8. So if I'm dividing by an 8, that becomes a factor. That's something I can multiply to get it. 72 divided by 8 is 9, isn't it? Yes. All right, so this is 9t plus 8 divided by 8 is 1. Now, you don't have to write this next part down, but I want you to see what we're writing here, an equivalent fraction. If I use my distributive property, remember this is 2 times this, 2 times 36 is 72t. So 2 times 36t is 72t. And then 2 times 4 is 8. So you see how we get the same original equation. We've written an equivalent equation. And that's all that really means there. Kind of break that up. Okay, that's all we're doing, is these are equivalent to this original one. So let's look at this one. 36 is z plus 72. Guys, there's lots of different things. Again, you could divide by 2, right? And if I divided by 2, I pulled that 2 out in front, I would have 18z plus 72 divided by 2 is 36. I could decide that I wanted to divide both of them by 9. And then I could pull that 9 out as a factor. And I would go 36z divided by 9 is 4z, plus 72 divided by 9 is 8. I could divide by 6, right? You're getting the idea. I'm rewriting it. I'm not changing the problem. It's the same problem, but I'm rewriting it in a different form. It's still equivalent. Same thing. 72 divided by 6 is 12. All right. One more. There's actually a few more, but let's just divide by 36. Okay, if 36 goes into both of them, sorry, that's so sloppy there. I would have 1z plus 2. Okay. So anyway, this is the stuff we've been practicing in our warm-ups, right? And then, sorry, I'm trying to make it neater. What about 3r and s? Now, of course, there's two variables here, but if we look at our terms, parts of an expression being added together, we have 3r and 3s. Well, 3 goes into both of them. So I could pull out a 3, and I'd have 1r plus 1s left. Okay, so that's just a way we can rewrite a problem, which it's a skill you'll need later on. This next one is one I want you to pay attention to, okay? Because you're going to see something like this on your homework. And I know it might look actually like we're missing some information here, but that's all right. It says write the product and sum. Okay, so again, we're dealing with multiplying and adding of the expressions being represented in this rectangular array. Okay, part B here, well, it says write the product and the sum. And we will. Okay, but let's just come down here. Fill in the missing information. Doesn't seem like there's any missing information, but there is up here. Okay, there's missing information up here, and I am going to struggle drawing boxes, so we'll just put lines that I'm not very good at, right? And what that means is, let's say I wanted to cover this up, right? Maybe. Let me try this again. There we go. Okay. Let's just say I wanted to cover that up. Okay. And I want to look at just this box right here. And I want to say, okay, well, 2 times what equals 24D? Well, again, if I want to know what I'm multiplying by, I can divide. And if I wanted to go 24 divided by 24D divided by 2, this is kind of looks like we did in the last lesson. 24 divided by 2 is 12, so this would be 12D. And let's say maybe I wanted to look here. Okay. I want to go 2 times what number equals 8E, or 8E divided by 2? Well, that would be 4E, right? And then 2 times what equals 6? 3. Okay. So this missing information right here, this side length has to be 2D plus 4E plus 3. Okay. Why? Well, we're going to get to that down here. Well, we kind of know why, right? We figured out the area for each block. And I should have said that earlier. I'm sorry, guys. We were figuring out the area. If the area is 24D, well, 2 times 12D equals that. Now it says write the sum represented in the rectangular array. That's in here. And it's the sum, right? If I wanted the area of this whole thing, I would take the area of the parts. 24D plus 8E plus 6. That represents the area of this. How many square inches, feet, square units, whatever. Now it says use the missing information to write from part A to write the sum from part B as a product of 2 factors. Okay, so this sum right here, 24D plus 8E plus 6, the area of this whole thing has to equal length times width, has to equal 2 times 12D plus 4E plus 3. And again, I don't want you to get overwhelmed by this. I want you to think that we're looking for relationships. We're looking at why things are equal. We can write them differently. This right here, if I were, okay, so again, I figured these pieces out by finding the area, the missing parts for the area of these. We know if we add these all up, it equals this. But we also know area is length times width. So if I multiply them together. Now, if I use the distributive property here, and I'm going to point out for the next video, this is multiplying. We use the distributive property when we're multiplying something by parentheses. Now we're adding or subtracting something in parentheses when we're multiplying. And if I were to go 2 times 12D, I'd get 24D. If I were to go 2 times 4E, I would get 80. If I were to go 2 times 3, I would get 6. Okay, so there's that relationship there between, finding the area, multiplying things together, and what it adds up to in the middle. And if I told you to use the distributive property, you could figure it out, okay? But again, we want to start seeing the relationship between numbers, being able to take something and break it up, write it differently. And that's going to be a useful skill later on in math.